She was humiliated in front of dozens of people, unaware that she was the one who held their fates in her hands. When the truth came to light, everything changed forever. What happened next would surprise even those who thought they had seen it all. But let's start from the very beginning. Christina James entered the Prime supermarket, feeling a slight twinge of nervous anticipation. She hadn't disclosed her position, wanting instead to observe how the stores in her chain operated from the ground level. Dressed in a sharp business suit and carrying herself with confidence, she made her way to the checkout to pay for her groceries. At the register stood Josh, a young man with a nonchalant expression. Glancing at Christina, he smirked, and while scanning her items, remarked loudly, "Wow, looks like there's a sale on suits somewhere nearby, considering how much you've saved." Laughter rippled through the queue behind her. Maintaining her composure, Christina calmly replied, "It's important to value quality, don't you think?" Taking her words as a challenge, Josh pressed on. "Oh, definitely. Especially if your style is budget boss level." Christina fixed him with a steady gaze, but didn't let her emotions show. Behind her, a few customers chuckled at his jokes, emboldening Josh. Relishing the attention, he continued with his cutting remarks. After collecting her receipt, Christina turned toward the exit. Before she could leave, an older employee, Mrs. Grace, stopped her, her demeanor full of genuine respect. "Miss James, it's such a pleasure to see you here. I hope the store meets your expectations." Josh froze at the mention of the name. Leaning quickly toward a colleague, he whispered, "Who is she?" "Are you serious? That's our new regional director," the colleague replied, and Josh's face instantly went pale. Christina turned back toward the register, her calm gaze resting on Josh. In an even tone, she said, "It seems we should all gather tomorrow to discuss our customer service standards." The store fell into an uneasy silence. Josh realized that his jokes might cost him far more than he had anticipated. The following day, the staff of Prime gathered in the meeting room. Uneasy murmurs filled the air as employees exchanged glances, wondering what had prompted such urgency. Josh sat on the edge of his chair, cold sweat dampening his shirt. He knew yesterday's incident wouldn't go unnoticed. Christina entered the room, holding a tablet. Her composed yet stern gaze silenced the chatter instantly. Starting the meeting, she addressed the group with a steady voice about the importance of respectful customer interactions. "The success of our store hinges on one key principle: respect for every customer. There is no room for negligence, especially when it happens publicly," she said, her eyes sweeping over the room. Though her tone was professional, the tension in the room was palpable. Some employees cast discreet glances at Josh, aware of exactly who her remarks targeted. "Let me share a recent experience during my visit to this store," Christina continued. "I was appalled to witness one of our employees making disrespectful comments toward a customer. This behavior is unacceptable." Josh felt his face flush with heat. He didn't need her to name him. He knew he was the subject of her critique. Christina went on. "Starting today, we will launch a new initiative. Every employee, regardless of position, will participate in customer interaction training. This applies to all of us." Turning toward Josh, she asked gently but firmly, "Josh, what are your thoughts on this?" Gathering his courage, he mumbled, "I think it's a good idea." "Excellent," Christina replied. "Then I trust you'll lead by example and participate with enthusiasm." After the meeting, the atmosphere among the staff was tense. Josh tried to defend himself to his colleagues. "I didn't know who she was. It was just a joke." But no one came to his defense. Instead, his behavior became the subject of hushed, judgmental discussions among his peers. Meanwhile, Christina remained in her office to meet with the store manager. She requested detailed reports on team performance and assessed how actively the leadership was involved in staff training. Her goal was clear, not just to address the specific incident, but to ensure that such situations could be prevented in the future. Eager to make amends, Josh was the first to arrive at the morning training session. He sat with a tense expression as Christina, joined by an invited trainer, conducted a session on the importance of empathy, respect, and corporate culture. Every exercise felt like a painful reminder of his behavior the day before. After the training, Christina introduced a new approach: role rotation for all employees. Josh, who was accustomed to working only at the checkout, was reassigned to the stockroom. "This will help you better understand the entire chain of our operations," Christina explained with a gentle smile. Josh, trying to mask his dissatisfaction, began his shift in the stockroom. Very quickly, he realized the work was far more demanding than he had imagined. Lifting heavy boxes, locating specific items on extensive lists, all of it left him exhausted. The stockroom team, however, didn't miss the chance to get back at him for his previous arrogance. "So, you're one of us now? Great, let's see what you've got," one of the workers said with a smirk, handing Josh a long list of items to relocate. Christina chose not to intervene, opting instead to observe as Josh grappled with the challenges. She wanted him to gain first-hand appreciation for the hard work others put in every day. By the end of the day, Josh was thoroughly drained. At one point, he even argued with a stockroom colleague over a mistake on the list. Later, realizing he had been in the wrong, he approached the colleague to apologize. That moment proved transformative for him. "You know, I never thought this job was so tough. You guys really keep this store running," he admitted, shaking the worker's hand. Meanwhile, Christina conducted a walkthrough of the store, taking time to speak with various employees. She was keen to understand the overall state of the workplace culture. Many employees were inspired by her hands-on approach. One of them, the elderly Mrs. Grace, said, "We've been waiting a long time for someone to address these things." "Thank you, Ms. James." On his way home, Josh reflected on his day. His pride had taken a hit, but for the first time, he considered how his actions and words could impact others. With a week of role rotation still ahead, he sensed that this experience would fundamentally change his perspective on work and life. After a week of role rotation, Josh had noticeably changed. He experienced various positions, working in the stockroom, cleaning, and assisting customers on the sales floor. Each role revealed aspects of the job he had once taken for granted. His attitude toward both his colleagues and customers began to shift. On the final day of the rotation, Christina held a debrief meeting. She asked the team what lessons they had learned from the new experience. To everyone's surprise, Josh raised his hand, something he usually avoided during meetings. "I want to apologize," he began. "To you, Ms. James, and to all my colleagues. I used to think my job was just scanning items and cracking jokes, but this week I've seen the hard work and dedication it takes to keep this store running. Honestly, I'm ashamed of how I acted." The room fell silent, broken only by applause from Mrs. Grace. Smiling warmly, she said, "Admitting your mistakes is already a step forward." Christina nodded, pleased with Josh's words. She then announced that the role rotation program would become a permanent practice, ensuring that every employee could appreciate the value of teamwork. After the meeting, Josh approached Christina. "Thank you for giving me a chance. Your approach taught me so much." "Everyone has the right to make mistakes, Josh," she replied. "What matters is how we respond to them." In the months that followed, Prime became a model store for the entire chain. Josh became an active participant in the new training programs, helping onboard new employees by sharing his personal experience. He even proposed ideas to improve customer interactions, earning the respect of his colleagues and managers alike. Christina, observing the positive changes, knew her mission had succeeded. A single, seemingly minor conflict had become the catalyst for profound transformation within the team. Her leadership style proved that even small actions could create a powerful ripple effect when driven by a genuine desire to make the world better. The story ended on a positive note. Prime thrived. Its employees treated one another with newfound respect, and Josh demonstrated that growth is possible for anyone willing to learn and change when given the opportunity.